Good evening and welcome to Just Making Conversation special edition of a global roundtable for a modelling mission. My name is Skiffins. I am the model officer, and this is streaming to the model officer's channel as well as Just Making Conversation, as it's such a special occasion and event. I am very pleased to say that in the studio I have the wonderful Malcolm, who is mute. Because he muted himself because he's a good boy.
I'm not.
No, not now.
I'm not. I'm unmuted. Hello.
So, Malcolm is here. Obviously, Malcolm, myself, Just Making Conversation. Anyone that's listening to this from that side of the coin, so to speak, will know our voices. But also, Malcolm is here in a dual capacity because he is the founder of Models for Heroes, a UK-based charitable organisation helping our heroes. And the purpose of this global roundtable is we are incredibly humbled to have the one and only Mike from Patriot Models.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
And we have John from Piece by Piece.
G-Day.
So the whole purpose of this evening is to have a little chat about the mission that these three charitable organizations in different stages of their development, how they come about, how they're proceeding, what things to look out for along the road, etc., all those sort of things. So it's just a pretty much a big roundtable of talking about the whole thing from start to finish, etc. Because we're very lucky, we've got someone that's been doing it for quite some time, we've got someone in the middle, and we've got someone that's just starting out. So could be quite an interesting hour or so to chat. I'm just going to quickly look over the chat itself. If you do have a question for any of the guys here, please pop it in the chat, put a question mark in front, because then it will jump out at me to a point. And we'll be good to go for any questions. If it's a question that feels not relevant or not correct, I won't read it out, but you're more than welcome to ask any question you like. So obviously it's the four of us. Been saying hello to you guys in the chat, the wonderful, sorry, I'll have to use the correct voice. Hello. Hi, everyone. That's Tiff. Not very good at that, am I? No. I know. Dave from the Valleys is in the house. He's saying hello to all. And then we've got people saying hello to one another. The wonderful Jim from Chicagoland is in the house as well, saying hello. And everyone's saying hello backwards and forwards, and that's pretty much all that's in the chat at the moment. So as people come along, there's 8 people live at the moment with us. So as people come along, we'll highlight a hello and all that sort of jazz. So anyway, let's get off and running. So like I said, we're here to talk about the organizations that are in 3 different continents around the world that are designed. Their mission is to deliver. Well, do you know what? Why don't I just hand it over to somebody and ask them, what is your mission? Shall I go to Malcolm? I think would be probably first. Go on, Malcolm. Sure. Tell us what the mission is.
The mission. Well, do you want to know the mission or the aims or the cause?
Oh, he's got all technical on me.
Because know, if we're going to talk governance, yes, then yeah. So our mission is to support the armed forces and the emergency service personnel in the UK with model making activities, and also our aims is also to promote the hobby for good well-being and mental health. So that could be in terms of running a Facebook group, for instance, like the Modeller's Mess, where people can come and chat about things and being positive about the hobby and all that stuff. Or it could be running a little model group for families to come along and build stuff, because it's promoting the hobby in general. But our main aim is for the armed forces and emergency services in the United Kingdom. And that's
okay, it. And so before I get to the sort of the first question, Mike, that's your similar sort of mission or aim? I'm using all the wrong words if we're going to go down governance, but
Well, I'm not as
the-
fancy as Malcolm. I don't have all of those yet. I'm still on just the mission at this point, right? I'm the newbie, right? So I don't have all of that stuff. I think he probably hired a consultant to figure that out, more than likely. I'm just kidding, Malcolm. No, I seriously though, yes, my goals are the same. My location is different. I would have to tell everybody that my organization was born out of Malcolm's organization. It's only because Malcolm is doing what he's doing that I'm even here, and I can talk about that more later or whatever. But yeah, everything he's doing, I plan to eventually be able to also do. That is exactly what's going on here.
And John, yourself, I mean, obviously we are very, 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 very early stages for yourself. But you want to add something to the mission of what your hopes are?
Yeah, it's very much in line with the other two. The deal for me is it's something as soon as from the moment I first became aware of Models for Heroes and their aims and everything else, I thought I really want to be part of this and see what I can do. But I hadn't been able to be in a position to be able to get that started. It's taken a couple of years to get in a good place mentally and physically to be able to start that. So I'm looking at getting that happening very, very soon because it's absolutely necessary. I think that it's all in the background. And so 25th of April every year is a big deal in Australia. It's Anzac Day, which is Australian New Zealand Army Corps. It commemorates the day that Australia as a nation first went to war as a nation, whereas before we were in the Boer War and other ones, but we had deployed as the Queensland Regiment, Victorian Regiment, New South Wales Regiment. So Anzac Day for us is the first day we stormed the beaches of Gallipoli in Turkey at dawn, which is why we have a dawn service commemoration. So yesterday, my time, it was 6 a.m. on the 26th here, but yesterday was Anzac Day, and of course was standing with medals at the cenotaph, but 24 hours ago, and it all sort of hit home. Yeah.
So are you, Mike, are you ex-military or?
I am, yes, sir. I went in 88. I graduated high school in 1988, and I joined the Army in 1988. I went to Fort Bliss, which is an air defense artillery base. I did my basic and my advanced infantry training there. I was a 16 Sierra, which is a Stinger missile gunner. If you're not familiar with a Stinger missile, there's several different versions of it, but the version I dealt with was the shoulder fired version of it. So we basically 7th ID is where I ended up, 7th Infantry Division, which is in Fort Ord, California, and it is a rapid deployment, or was. It's no longer there. It was a rapid deployment force, which is like the 82nd Airborne is a rapid deployment force. So basically, if you take America, it's split in the middle by the Mississippi. So everything that was from the Mississippi to the east, 82nd Airborne dealt with, and everything from the Mississippi west, 7th ID Light dealt with. So when Panama happened, when Noriega was removed from Panama, that was both of us. The 82nd and 7th ID both did that, and it took 13 days. So, and really it took 48 hours. We called it done in 13 days. But so that's where I was. That's what I did. I was in for 2 years, 3 months, 17 days, because I took a 2-year enlistment because I really just wanted some money for college, to be honest. Like I just had no direction and I wanted money for college. So I took the smallest enlistment I could get, and I got out, and then Desert Storm got me recalled for 3 months and 17 days. So in a 2-year stint that I signed up for, I saw Panama and Desert Storm.
Wow.
Yeah. So, good times. But, honestly, I tell that story that way a lot, but that's really not the whole story. On the first deployment to Panama, I said my unit went, but I didn't. I twisted my knee, headed to formation, to like the first formation that we did as a drill, as practice.
Mm-hmm.
I twisted my knee, and 4 days later they called the drill and they went, and I was on profile, which is what they call it when you've been to the doctor and you're not allowed to do any particular duty. And so in the military, especially at that time, that was looked down upon. And I was already a two-year enlistee, which was also looked down upon, because by the time I got to this very gung-ho unit, right, as I'm telling you, they go everywhere, right? These people are more like Marines than they are Army guys. So, you know, by the time I got there, I'd already spent 8 months training. So I had a year and 2 months. I'm already what they call short in America. When you're a short timer, there's not much time left. You're short, right? And you're like 42 days short. You're 41 days short. You're 40 days short, right? Like you're short. And so by the time I got there, I was already short. So people are ticked off. They got more time to do still in the military than I do when I arrived today. So, you know, I really didn't get a chance to really serve the way I really wanted to. Not that I necessarily wanted to see combat, because that's not what I wanted. But when you join the military and you've been with that group of people, you understand that it's just like your true brother. It's just like the guy who grew up in your household with you that you call brother. Those guys you would go anywhere for, you would do anything for, and I couldn't. And that still sticks in my craw to this day. Right. And it's why, you know, we talked about mission. I'll just give you a hint more about my mission. My mission actually is to offer every single veteran of the United States the opportunity to use scale modeling as therapy for mental health. Now, you can tell me no thank you, right? You can try it and say, no, you know, it's not really for me, right? That's fine. I just want to be able to offer it to every single man, woman, and child that's involved with the U.S. Armed Forces. That's what I want. That's my mission.
And another one it is as well. So, one thing I've got from both of you is that it's really Malcolm's fault. So I think maybe we should ask Malcolm, where did the origin of the story start with you?
So 2017, way back in 2017, I was between jobs, and my daughter was going back to school for full time, and because I was a stay-at-home dad, and so I thought, well, I'll do volunteering because that's good for the CV, right? While I find a position. And then I ended up volunteering, teaching model making to veterans down at Help for Heroes in Tidworth House in the UK. And it was incredibly powerful and meaningful and just jaw-breakingly awesome. That's the thing. It really hit me. And it was brilliant. I thought, oh, I'll just do this until I find a job, and I'm still here. Still haven't found one. It just grew from there. Basically, it was a successful endeavor with the Model N, and then it just grew to other hubs, and other people started to hear about it and said, oh, I do modeling for this and that and the other, and I do modeling as well. It helps me. And so it just kind of snowballed. Yeah, and here we are now with lots and lots of sessions over the UK and hundreds of volunteers and thousands of emails and a backlog of beneficiaries now that we've never had before. We had more people. What was it I said to you the other day? We had more people refer this year so far than we actually had in the entire of 2022.
Yeah,
which is crazy because I thought 2022 was busy. But we've got somebody in the warehouse every single day calling beneficiaries now and sorting out boxes and bringing in donations, and it's around the clock really. But that's where it all started, and that's where it all ended up.
So before I ask you the next question, I just want to, because obviously we're on YouTube, so I just want to give a quick mention to people that joined us. So there's 19 odd people watching. I mean, by all means, say hi. I noticed Bill's turned in, Atol's turned in, Carl Smith has turned in, a couple others, I think. So if I don't call you out there and then, I do apologise. But please, if you've got any questions, pop a question in the chat with a question mark, and we can ask these three lovely guys, put them under the spotlight. But while we're the spotlight's on you, Malcolm. So the power of model making. What is it about scale model making, or a mindful hands-on activity in general, that makes such a difference for mental health compared to the traditional approaches, do you think?
I think because it's so, traditional approaches would be, well, lots of things, but I think because it's an accessible hobby, it doesn't feel like therapy. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything out of the ordinary. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to. I mean, you have to get tools and things, and but it's a hobby that you can buy on the high street. You know, as long as you've got a model shop on the high street, of course. But you can build models and get some glue, and you don't need much at all. You just need the basics to get going, and I think that can give you the starter that you need, and just that kind of time spent focusing on building something cool is really good. Time spent building and focusing on other things other than your future or your past, and just being in the moment and being in right now, being in the present time, I think is the curative part of it. And then making friends and chatting about things with fellow modelers as well is great for you. It's a social thing. It's a really social hobby since COVID anyway, certainly. What was the question?
No, you answered it. So talking of the power of modelling, John, I come to you next because I sort of know the answer to this, because we've had this conversation on many occasions. So, but you're an ex-service military person. What does the power of modelling make for you in that regard?
All right, so I'll just give an overview of my service. I joined in, it's probably well after Mike left, but I joined in 1995 as an avionics technician. Went to C-130 Hercules, the E and H model, and then after about 2 years, the J model came along, and I was in a place where I must have been impressing people or whatever. So I was picked to be one of the people that went over to Atlanta, where Mike is, to do the C-130J introduction course at the Lockheed Martin plant there, and introduce that aircraft back to the country along with the rest of, we had 12 what we call black-handers, engines airframe, and 12 avionics white-handers, for want of a better word. And I was one of the avionics guys. Came back, did that, stuck with the aircraft for another 10 years. Obviously, by the time it arrived in the country, then Timor flared up. Then, of course, 9/11 happened, and it changed everything. So I spent most of the next decade in the Middle East, a little bit to the back, away from all the fighting, apparently, but all that sort of gack. And we're not even part of NATO, but yeah, did all that. After all that, plus Bali bombing and all sorts of stuff with the Hercs. Had a respite posting to Melbourne, ordering spare parts for about 4 years or so. Then I went across to AP3C Orion aircraft, another Lockheed Martin product. Did those for 5 years. Operation Augury, which is anti-ISIS in the Philippines that most people don't know about. MH370, I was very much in the middle of that for the first 3 weeks of that. And Gateway, which is keeping the Straits of Malacca open for anti-piracy, that sort of stuff. Did all that. Then I came to where I wanted to be. I didn't want to go to Orion's. Came to where I am now, Classic Hornet for 2 years at 2ICU. Saw them out. And then I was on the first F-35 course run in Australia. And at the end of that, a 12-week course, my back went and it never recovered. So in October that year, I had a spinal fusion operation and very much became, this guy's no good and all that sort of stuff. And, he's a waste of time and blah. And it was the worst period of my life. And I'm out now. I've been out for three and a bit years. And as I was saying, getting physically and mentally stronger to be able to do something like this. But that's me. So modeling, what it does, I've always been modeling, since I was a kid. The standard thing for me and my twin brother, and in fact, my two other brothers as well. We made probably most of the Matchbox kits that are available in the 80s, and I never really stopped. And so what I found is when I was in chronic pain, terrible sciatic pain, I couldn't walk. And that happened when COVID did. So it was a very, very bad time. I couldn't leave the house. And I thought, I've trained for this. I've been sort of getting ready for COVID my whole life by sitting at the bench and doing models. So that sort of, that helped a lot. But as I say, at that time when I was when I went to the Classic Hornets, listening to, I think it was the On the Bench podcast in Australia with Ian and Dave. They had mentioned Models for Heroes and stuff, and I looked it up, and I just thought, that's something I can get behind. This is something that I could sort of help with. And within 2 years, who knew that instead of being a potential volunteer, I'd be a potential beneficiary. But now I've come out of the other end of that. I'm back to where I would be as a volunteer, if that makes sense. So it was just like everything happened at once, and it was I was blindsided, honestly, about how it'll work. But it's very much kept me afloat. I think it's a grounding, as Malcolm said. You can have all this stuff going in the background. You're no good. You're letting us down. You're not walking with purpose, and all that gack becomes, if you're sitting there putting a wheel on a like a track link or something on a tank, then that's what you're concentrating on, and absolutely beneficial, I think, doing that.
Definitely.
That was a long answer for a short question.
Yeah, but like I said, I expected that. Mike, about yourself, just reflect back to what the original question was, the power of model making. So what's your thoughts on why it is so powerful?
Well, first off, you said we were going to be an hour or so or ish, and I wondered when everybody else was going to talk. But I do seriously want to say to John, thank you for sharing that, man. Look, I'll get emotional tonight. All right, I just will. That's just how it is. I didn't do a lot of modeling. All right, so my first model was at 14 years old, the time when most people give it up. All right. I had a pretty rough growing up time. I moved a lot. I went to 8 different schools in 12 years, all while only missing 1 day of school in 12 years. I had 11 perfect attendances while moving in 8 schools. So it was rough at home. I'd rather been at school. That's just how it was. Like, I'd rather be sick at school than be at home. It was not great. Right. And so, model making at the very first, when I came back to it, reminded me of like a better time in my life. I moved to my uncle's house, and I stayed there for almost a year. And it was my brother. It was my mom's brother. He still is my mom's brother, I should say. And he was her little brother. And so he was like 6 or so years younger than him. And my mom was 20 when she had me. So he was like, he was a rock star, right? He had dirt bikes and a bass fishing boat and a go-kart and a 40 Chevrolet and a 39 Chevrolet. And this was like 1984, right? So I moved in with him, and man, like whatever he wanted to do, I wanted to do it, right? So he got me into drag racing. Right, NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, right? Lots of drag racing, and so they had a drag race not far from where we lived, and so he wanted to go, but he said, before we go, I want us to make this model, and I'm gonna put it on a trucker hat. I'm gonna attach it to this trucker hat, and then you're gonna wear it because it'll be such a great spectacle. They'll probably take your picture and put it in the NHRA magazine. And I was like, hey, whatever, man. I don't know anybody there anyway, right? So put it on me, whatever. So we build this 1957 Revell Chevrolet model, and we attach it to a trucker hat with bread ties, right? The little metal ties that you tie up a bread bag, right? We tie it on there with that. I put it on, and hey, we headed up the road, and man, I don't know if you've ever been to a drag race before, especially a Top Fuel drag race.
Sure have.
But the Southern Nationals are in a little place called Commerce, Georgia. It's a little dirt spot where they decided to make racing popular. And I got on those stands, and the first time they let loose, I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. He's like, no. They're heating up the tires, brother. Just hang on to your hat, right? I mean, it literally would scare you. So I'm walking up and down this place just strutting with this hat. I mean, I was a cocky kid. I'm 6'7", right? So I'm like literally like just walking, and everybody's staring at me. I'm eating it up, right? So sure enough, man, they put my picture in the NHRA today. It's here somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I've got it. So yeah, he just that was my first foray into modeling. I didn't do it again for years. My wife and I got tired of our old careers. She was in the medical profession. I was in the automotive field. So when you had work to do on your car, you needed some sort of help with your car. I worked at a dealership, and I would help you out. Did that for a long time, became a manager and all that stuff. And so just kind of got burnt out. So we decided to do something where our schedules would line up a little better. We'd spend a little less time. And even if it didn't make as much money, we both became teachers. And we're kind of opposites attract a little bit. And so we both became teachers, and she was teaching biology. She still is teaching biology and forensics and forensic science. And I was teaching just forensic science. All right. And so, she's a planner and I'm not, right? So, she was just every day planning. I would come home, spend an hour or two on the couch, just waiting. And so I complained, and she's like, hey, I waited for you for years. Get a hobby, buddy. So I did. I picked up scale modeling. And then just to add a little to that, I think that coming out of a household where I was born at Fort Bragg, right? My father was 82nd. My father was Special Forces. My father was LRP, which a lot of people don't know what that means, but it's Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol. So in Vietnam. So he's the kind of guy that, they drop in and he'd snatch somebody out of somewhere, and then they'd pick him up and away they'd go. So, my house is pretty hardcore. So I don't know. I get so it's so hard sometimes to share. That's why I was thinking, John, it's so hard to let as a man, I was just taught, as a boy, I was taught to be a man, right? Even as a boy, it was be a man, right? Be a man, little man, let's go. Right. So I just, being a man is also being able to talk about how you feel about things, so that you don't do what my brother did, which was take his own life. Right. It's one of the biggest reasons I'm sitting here. Right. Yeah. The modeling's great. And it's very, very good for me. Right. I'm going to talk about that in a second too. It is very good for me, but it's one of those things where if I had another conversation with my brother, guess what it would be about?
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be about scale modeling, because I know that he had obsessions just like I have obsessions. And if he could have got obsessed on this, he'd be buying too much paint to this day. To this day. Yeah. So that's okay. I didn't know that then, right? I don't blame myself for that, but I also know that there are lots of people out there that don't know that their loved one is having this kind of time, because I didn't know, right? My brother, he was a black sheep a little bit. I mean, and so was I. I was just older, and my parents got divorced, and so he was part of a different family really than I was, right? So of that family, of his family, he was the black sheep. And so I didn't really talk to him a lot, because we had, we kind of fell out or whatever. We just didn't talk much, because he was into stuff that I had previously, dealt with and didn't want anything to do with. And so just kind of had detached myself. And now I'm like, wow, that was like the worst thing you could have done. So I just want people to understand that you're not the only one. As a matter of fact, you're one of all of us. We all feel that way. We all struggle. We all think that people don't understand how they hurt our feelings. We all feel like people don't understand how much they hurt our feelings. Every one of us feels that way, right? But nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about death. Nobody wants to talk about true feelings, right? And I'm here to do that, right? And I can do that over a model. Let me tell you what, if you think I can do that right now with ease, hey, put me with a veteran and a model, and we can talk for about 4.5 hours. You're going to be like, my wife said, I got to come home. Right. So now,
still married?
Yeah, I know. Right. So now let me just switch over to the models for a second. Okay. So there's a couple of things I got to always say about this. And the first is like, yeah, it's an obsession. I was in Hobby Lobby today. Like, it's 40% off. That means I got to take 40% of the butt whooping I would if I buy it today versus next week. So, it kind of drives me. And there are things that, I got to watch myself. I really do. I buy too much stuff. If you look behind me, the paint back here, right? Like, I mean, I started Patriot Models a year ago today. 1 year ago today.
Oh,
this is the birthday of Patriot Models, as a matter of fact.
Happy birthday.
So I started modeling again, though, like the December before. Right. So I've been modeling for 1.5 years or so, right, in that neighborhood. And I have probably, I bet there's $2,000 worth of paint back here. Right. So I bought too much paint, y'all. I don't even know I can't even use most of that paint. Right. I don't even know how to use half of it. And the half I do know how to use, it's not very well. I'll show you one of these things. They're not great. Okay. But here's what it does for me. And it's why my wife allows what she does allow. Right. Because it's a lot. I'm a lot, y'all. It's because when I do hit this bench over here and I start to put together whatever it is, or I've finally mixed this paint to the exact color that my eye does want to see, then I stop juggling all those things, right? So we're always like, oh, I got to do this, and next I got to do that, and my schedule says here, and then, oh, did you make the Kool-Aid? Hey, the dog needs to go out. And there's all these things that everybody, like, when you need help from someone, you got to ask them to sort of stop their juggle for a second and check out my juggle, right? And so modeling allows me to put all that down for a minute. I don't have to juggle anything. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to think about anything other than, is this too much glue? Yes, it is. God have mercy. Of course, it always is too much glue. Every single time, it's too much glue. But listen, I can control that, right? I can take the glue back off, and I can do it a second time, like I always do, right? And I can get the glue right. I can perfect that. I can control it. I can make sure that I can make it to what my eye wants it to be. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe it didn't look the way you thought it. But you know what? I did. And in the time that it took me to do that, I had no worries. None. Zero worries. So, if you can look up after 3 hours of no worries and go, wow, look at this thing. Hey, babe, check this out. And your wife actually goes, whoa, that's pretty nice. Wow, that's great for me. I entered a couple of contests. I've not won anything. They were IPMS contests, so I didn't even know why I didn't win anything. But I won't get on that soapbox today. But I do want to. I said something last podcast I was in. I just want to mention this for anybody that's listened to both of them. I kind of Scott and I were just sort of batting back and forth the whole competition versus just model to model shows, right? Like expo versus competition, right?
Yeah.
And I sometimes come off a little strong. I don't know why. It's just kind of how I am. I come off a little strong sometimes. So I just want to say, like, I love expos, and I had stuff in the exposition part of what I was doing, but I also I do love competing in competition, and I personally think that competition really, it makes everybody's level rise up. It gives you a better product of what it is you get to look at the end when it's all said and done. If you look at like what was in modeling magazines in 1984 when I first picked one up, and what's in a modeling magazine now, it's light years, y'all. And that came because they were competing for years doing that. And it's great that we want to help each other. I want to help people. I like getting help. And I'm not being sarcastic when I say that one bit. I do enjoy helping people. I like to teach. That's why I became a teacher as my second, like, semi-retirement or whatever, right? So I enjoy it, right? And I enjoy getting taught. But I also like to, I like to compete. I like to throw it down. So anyway, for me, modeling is all of those things, but I'm a noob. I mean, I am so newbie. It's like you guys start throwing out all these tanks and stuff, and I'm like, I'm ex-military. I'm supposed to know what the heck that is, and I have no clue, none what that is. I have to go look it up. My head is like bursting from all of the information that what is that? Let me look that up. What is that? Let me look that. What is that? Let me look that up. Like I've been, what is that? Looking that up for like 2.5 years now. Like
That's one of the favorite parts of the hobby for me, I think, is doing the rabbit holes and you know, all that sort of stuff. It's a lot of fun.
So just to give you guys a moment, so the power of modeling for me, you know, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what Malcolm does, what you guys are doing, and giving back to the community, etc., is because I've used model making for many years, for most of the time without realizing, for that mindfulness, for that peace, getting away from anxiety and getting away from mental health issues. I've had some dark times. I don't really talk about it very often, in all seriousness, but I've had some very dark times, many of which reflected on what you were saying about being a man, etc. One of the things I've not really ever spoken about to even my family. But the one thing I've found over the 8 years, 9 years, sort of nearly 10 years actually, of doing stuff like this online and being involved as a volunteer for Models for Heroes is the similarities of what you get from just looking down at a piece of plastic and whiling away the hours without all that noise of life in your ear rolls. You know, I sat today for 3.5 hours doing rivets on a hanger deck because I'm sad, admittedly, and because Malcolm told me I should do it. But I couldn't believe how quickly that time went. And now I've painted it, it's all disappeared. I don't really know what I did now, but yeah, it's over there. But anyway, the point being is it's given me a great deal of pleasure, and without harping on too much, I'm not ex-military. I'm not civilian forces either. I used to do PTS, which is passenger transport services for an ambulance. I did a few emergency runs and bits and pieces, but you know, not frontline by any means. And I have a similar humour and quirkiness that people in those, I'm going to say it, those heroes, those people that run toward danger, while we all run the opposite direction. I share some of those humour and dark comments and understand all that sort of stuff. So I get on quite well with people from the forces. I don't know why. I think it's just because they like mocking me and they like throwing me the colour yellow quite a lot. But anyway, so for me personally, model making is is the place where I go when I'm troubled. It's become over the years a place where I go to help people that are troubled and to discuss things and be open about mental health, which is incredibly important to me personally because I suffer from it, and without talking about it, I've learned the hard way. It just harms yourself. So the joy of being involved with a charitable organisation where we are giving back by simply gluing stuff together is, for me, the nuts, to be quite blunt. Before I ask the next question to you guys, I just want to quickly point out Paul has joined us, John Mayfield has joined us, as well as Steve, Totally Scale Models, has joined us, and they're all in the chat, all saying hello to one another. Tiff's doing some decorating. I don't think there's any pun involved with that. I think she was hanging wallpaper last time I spoke to her, so I hope that's going well. No questions in the chat from the 25 people watching live on YouTube. And if you're listening to this in JMC, thank you for taking the time to be here to listen. But we're here to talk about charitable organisations, Models for Heroes in the UK, Piece by Piece in Australia, which is just in the very start green shoots, and as Mike has alluded to, Patriot Models in America, who has again in the green shoots, but a little bit further on probably than John himself. So the next question I wanted to ask you guys was, which is a bit of a difficult question to answer, really, I guess. So I'm going to go to Malcolm first, which will give the other guys a little bit of thinking time more than anything else. So operating in the UK, but you are sharing a similar mission, a similar vision of where you want your charitable organisations to go in Australia and America. What similarities do you see in the challenges that veterans and service personnel face, and where do you think there might be some differences?
Wow.
Well, I'll give you a moment to think about that answer. I just want to pre-warn everybody. I didn't warn anyone about these questions, and I have purposely done that because I wanted to delve a little bit deeper than I have in normal conversations with Malcolm. And certainly, I've not spoken that much to Mike. I've spoken quite a bit at John, but there were things that I wanted to unpack, shall we speak. So I hope that's giving you a bit more breathing time. Sorry, Malcolm.
It's okay. It's an important question, and it deserves a good answer. So I need to think about it. But I think the human element is the similarities. You know, we all hurt, and we all suffer, and we all show strength where we can, and we all fail in the same ways. And we can all help each other, and that's the similarities, I think. Differences, I don't know. Differences, John's always upside down. I don't know. Mike talks like he's from the backwater of Mississippi somewhere.
Wonder where that was going.
I don't know. I think the differences are probably what brings us together, though. You know, because we can take the mickey out of each other, and joke about our favorite biscuits and all that stupid stuff. But that's kind of the fun. I upset him this morning already. First thing I said to him this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it afterwards. I don't want to go down that road again. But I think our differences are what kind of combines us. And in terms of model making, I don't know, because I think we all model making the same sort of stuff. You know, all sorts of bits and pieces. Certainly for me. But the armour is very popular in the UK. I don't know about if it's the same in Australia and in America, but yeah, all sorts of different things are quite popular in the UK, as well as railway enthusiasts. Is that a big thing in Australia? I don't know.
It is. Yeah, like there's regional shows and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, going to places like Ironbridge in the UK and looking around going, oh, is that why train sets look the way they do? Because everything's sort of really bright colours and stuff. You know, train sets here tend to be a lot more washed out and diluted colours and stuff. But, you know, the different, you get all the little sort of grain sheds and all that sort of stuff. It's fascinating to see an Australian train set compared to one from Europe. But,
yeah, I think that's the differences, I think, is the good thing. Was that the question, James? Kind of got lost.
Yeah, it was just basically asking what similarities and differences there. Well, similarities do you see in the challenges that veterans and service personnel face?
Okay, yes, the challenges would be the same. I think.
Yeah,
I think the challenges are the same. I mean, in terms of support, I see good support from the American side with their veterans. It's a whole different kind of. There's a culture of saying thank you to veterans in the States that there isn't here, you know. And quite often here, I will say thank you for your service, and people are like, "Oh, no one's really told me that before." Yeah, I think you should say it all the bloody time, to be honest. I don't know what it's like in Australia, but I guess there are differences in culture and people's kind of feelings towards the veterans and the services as well.
Certainly in Australia, I think you know, being thanked for your service is weird. Like it's happened in the last say 10 years or so, but I think it's let's face it, it's probably people on social media looking at things that happen in one country and just going, oh, I should be doing that here. But we don't like drawing attention to ourselves. So to be thanked for it publicly is like, just sort of weird. You'd rather be humble and sort of get on with it, if that makes sense. Yeah. It is gratifying to hear, but it's still odd. Even say the name Models for Heroes. Well, we don't call ourselves heroes. So, we find that a little bit odd, like self-grandizing, if that makes sense. Yeah, we just don't do that. Yeah.
Mike, yourself, throwing that back over to you as well. What sort of similarities do you see with the challenges for veterans and service personnel face, and what might be different?
There's so many things here to talk about. I think that the similarities are kind of obvious, right? We're all doing the same thing. We're kind of doing the same models. Like that. The hard part of that question is obviously whether the differences, and I don't know that we always know what the differences are, but here's something that I've noticed, at least about the difference between America and Europe. I did a little bit of time in Germany, so I can't speak of all of Europe, but I spent about 3 months in Germany. And at least that part of Europe that I was in, and the part I traveled around in a little bit, was different than America by a lot. And I think part of that has to do with how long America's been here versus how long the UK or any other European country has been there. You guys have been in the same spot for millennia, right? And we've been here. I mean, if you're not talking about indigenous Americans, right? If you're talking about the European Americans that are pretty much the ones that at least were the majority. We're disappearing as majority, but whatever. Right. So you I don't know, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So let me back up.
Okay.
No, I do that a lot. I'm ADD, and I just started some ADD medication, and so I've been losing my train of thought a lot here lately. So sorry about that. Anyway, so America's just been here a lot less time, and so there's this whole idea in America, like, oh, that building's old. Okay, cool. We'll build a new one over there in the spot where there's nothing, right? And in Europe, you can't do that anymore. Like you need the land that you have for what you're using it for, pretty much. I mean, are there places you can develop? Sure, but not like here. Not like here. There's still like 80% of this country that can be developed. There's so much land. There's so much space, and so that's created this go west, young man attitude of the entire country, where when you hit 18 here, at least when I was in high school, you pretty much hit the door, right? You found your own place to be. You didn't stay in the house that your family lives in until you got married or at all, right? When you're like nowadays, you've got the people that are in America that are kids that just don't leave home, right? My brother was one of them. He did, but he bounced back and forth, whatever. But that wasn't a thing when I came through. That was very shameful. To live in your parents' basement was like, what do you got no life? You got no ambition? What are you doing in your parents' basement? Are you kidding me? So that to me is just like foreign, right? But in Germany, where I was, at least, like that was a common thing. Like a lot of these people lived in the same apartment building for generations, right? And those things were passed down. They willed the house or whatever. Like you see this in New York City too, where there's rent control and like people are trying to keep the same place. Like where there's no space, this happens, right? This happens a lot where there's no space. But most of America is not like New York City. So we have this whole like, you can't hold me down thing. And because of that, I think the whole idea that you're talking about, like, of like I'm almost like, don't thank me because it makes me feel weird, right? Like I don't want to be like, that's even more so for us. But yet we've still got this whole movement where everybody has started thanking us, right? And frankly, it's off-putting sometimes. Like you just don't know. After a while, you get used to it, right? After a while, you understand people are actually trying to be nice to you. Nobody's trying to make you feel a particular kind of way, right? They're just trying to be nice. They see that you have, don't wear your Army hat, buddy. Like, you got on your hat says Army, right? So of course you've elicited a response by doing that. So if they want to say thank you to me, okay. I mean, I don't really feel like I did enough. So it really makes me more driven to do this, right? Because I never felt like I did it anyway. So for me, it's a good motivation. I have an outlet for that. But I get what people are saying. Like, we just want to be, we do want people to be thankful, but we don't necessarily want you to make a deal of it, right? Like you should just if you look at my hat and nod at me and keep walking, that is plenty for me, right? That said exactly everything I need to know. You see that I did that, right? Hey, that's all we ever want, really. And even that, sometimes I won't wear my hat, right? If I don't need anybody to know that today, if I'm feeling that particular kind of way, then I won't wear one. That's fine. But I am proud to be, from the military, to have served, my father served, my grandfather served, my father in Vietnam, my grandfather in World War II. And, they both saw combat. And so, this whole, boy, you got to be a man, like that's entrenched, right? So I think there's just a different social aspect to you. I know that you say that you feel like Americans help veterans, and I get what you're saying, and we do a good bit, but it seems very superficial sometimes. It seems as if we want to say the right things, but then when it comes time to actually get some services for something, it's hard to get, right? It's hard to get it. The access is not easy. They make it hard to get, and that's a governmental thing, right? It's not like, my next door neighbor's faulted for that, right? Oh, you jerk. Don't thank me because, it's hard. But at the same time, our government is a reflection of us. And if our government abuses us, it's because we let it, right? So I'm out here pushing the envelope on that kind of thing. Like, the whole reason I even started this is because Malcolm, I saw Malcolm in a YouTube video. I saw his foundation in a YouTube video, and I literally reached out to him. I was like, models? What? Yeah, hook me, right? I just emailed him right away, and he told me, hey, Mike, I appreciate your service, but I just don't have a budget for the world. I just can't do that, right? I'm not there yet, right? So I'm sorry, but here's a couple of guys, that are doing that kind of thing, and when I searched them, COVID took them out. Right. And I don't even know that any of them would come back. Honestly, I've been so in this, I don't even know. Maybe they have. I don't want to say they have or haven't. I don't know. But COVID took so much from me, guys. So my mother died during COVID. Okay?
Oh, no.
My mother died during COVID. And my brother, who was very attached at the hip to her, died less than a year later.
Wow.
Just a couple of days before the anniversary of her death. All right. So, when I hear people say new normal, I've got a finger for that, and it's not the index finger. Okay. I cannot stand new normal. I've made it my personal mission, not Patriot Models mission, but my personal mission to make new normal something that was better than old normal, not to mean that it sucks. Welcome to new normal, because that's what that's become is, restaurants close at 8. Too bad. New normal. Remember when restaurants used to be open till 10:30, 11, 12, 12:30? Remember that? Yeah. Well, here in America, they did. Yeah. And outside a big city, yeah, always. But now, no. And so I think that's horse crap. I just think I think letting some virus and our reactions to it, to change how we decide to live our lives, other than to be better, is ignorant. That's what I believe. And I will not stand for it.
I think one of the things in which always surprises me, and we sort of touched upon it in what we've been saying here, is the importance of community versus isolation. One of the things that's always surprised me massively, especially with forces personnel, and I can reflect that slightly to emergency services. But certainly with the forces personnel, the community aspect of it, you're in a hub, on a base or in training in a unit, whatever size you want to bring that down to. But you are one community, you're all one entity. And then when you come out of service for whatever reason, that's all stripped away completely. And that's what brings in that isolation. And what I find really quite strange about model making being so therapeutic is part of that therapy is the isolation from your thoughts, etc., to the plastic. So, how important do you think it is, John, the sense of community and what we do as within Models for Heroes and the model making world and sphere, and how do you create that safe environment for people when they're struggling to open up?
Well, I'll start by saying, I have a twin brother. Scale Modeling Twins is on the shirt and all that sort of stuff like that, but he's not military. But we did go over to Telford a couple of years ago, met Malcolm, met James, amongst other people. And while we were driving around, he was saying, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? The Models for Hero thing wasn't the thing he was questioning. He was... the social aspect. He said, so why are you doing all this YouTube stuff? Like, why are you, I didn't have a YouTube channel then or whatever,
Right.
but why are you on Discord and having conversations with people while you're at your bench? And what I said was, like, our hobby, as wonderful and rewarding as it is very sort of introspective, and you're alone, whether you've got TV on, music, or anything at all, that you're just there with your thoughts. And that's, in a way, it's a good thing because it's a distraction from your thoughts in your thoughts. But what I've said is, like, what this does is basically flip that hobby and invert it, and turn it into a community of people that are talking to one another. And I think most of the people I've met in the hobby are similar-minded people. Like, we get fixated on a thing and go down a path, and, like, I can't stop reading about this particular turret and all that sort of stuff. And it's just... It's all very good, but yeah, similar-minded people with an interest in engineering. Oh, it's a train? Oh, tell me more, and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a way to really. It's like joining a local area model club where people talk about techniques and share what they're doing and all that sort of stuff. But then, I got this kit. Oh, show me, and yeah. Getting that, so it's certainly making it more of a it's an enjoyment factor, and just to generally take the piss really is always fun. Like I had a missed opportunity before. I was going to say to Mike, you said you're 6'7".
Yes, sir.
How tall is your wife? I'm just curious.
She's 5'9".
Right.
My daughters, I have two grown daughters, 6'1" and 5'11".
All right.
Neither played basketball either.
Being an educator, you must hate it when people walk around the schoolyard and 6'7", 6'7". Is that a thing for you?
They're still doing it too, but it's mostly just freshmen now, and my classes aren't for freshmen, so most of them are over that by now. The good thing about TikTok is hold your breath; it'll be over in a minute.
Oh God, TikTok. So that's the thing. By not getting involved in the community aspect, I wouldn't have been able to say that terrible joke across the Pacific Ocean. So it's all worthwhile.
Well, thank goodness for that. Paul jumped in with a comment saving the day. Thanks, Paul. Paul Wiltshire. He says, before I contacted M4H, I felt isolated and on my own. When I left the armed forces. Now I feel like I belong to something again. Scale modeling has really helped me personally. Thank you so much. So yeah.
One thing I'll say about that is when I left, obviously I had all this stuff. So I had a career of being certainly with the Hercs and then the Orions, that if something happens and you read in the news, like this has happened, like, floods, all that sort of stuff, anything that was affecting the nation, we were doing, because there's no such thing as a serviceable Hercules sitting on the tarmac. Like, someone has got something that needs to be moved somewhere. So it took me 18 and a half years to do an exercise. Everything I'd done up till then was operational. And it was very, very weird. So you can imagine, for years, I had a bag packed under my bed, 3 hours notice to move and all that sort of stuff. And suddenly when you cut off and you sign on the line and you're out the gate, you can't get left in. So you got all these people that are best mates and all that sort of stuff, and suddenly they're not talking to you anymore because they're so focused doing all this stuff. So I found the silence deafening when I left. And that's one thing that I had heard a couple of mates had said before, but it really is a thing where the transition from service life back to being a civilian is much more difficult than what I thought it could be, because I always thought that, like, yes, I'm a serving member, but 2/3 of my life, I'm either asleep or walking around in civvies. I'm a civilian, like more than I'm a uniformed member, if that makes sense. However, when I left, it was like, it just stopped. It just completely stopped. And that is something, that's a danger period, I think. It was a low point in my life, partly because of the chronic pain I was in with spinal problem and all that stuff. But it was absolutely terrible. And this is a thing that is where I get upset. So around about, I think very close to being discharged from the service, a good mate of mine, Viv, we'd meet on Tuesdays for a cuppa and we'd talk through stuff and all that sort of stuff. And he took his life pretty much the day I ended my career. And that sort of thing where like Anzac Day anniversary and all that sort of stuff, these things come to the forefront. So it's a challenging job and it's an absolutely rewarding job. But it's there's life afterwards, which I think is fantastic for most people, and it's just being able to have that opportunity to live longer. So if I can help keep one person vertical here longer than they might otherwise be, then that'd be my ultimate aim complete.
So Malcolm, community versus isolation. Why don't I throw that to you? And why don't we also roll into that? If someone's watching tonight and they're struggling, what would be your advice? Let's tackle the isolation and community first, and then comes to the second bit.
So yes, that's the good thing about the model making, isn't it? We all like trains and stuff and cool things and noisy, massive machines that go fast or move heavy things, and we all like that since we were little kids. And for some, that might be the reason you joined up in the first place. I get to do what? I get to drive that. And so when you come out, you still have that affinity with things that you want, and men like to build stuff for some reason. So I guess that's the draw. Isolation is a massive killer. It really is, through whatever reasons. I don't know. I think there is a thing between veterans and people in the services and the civvy life and civvies, but I think that is built up in the services to be a bad thing, to be a civilian. Civilians are late, lazy, etc., which is true. But so we are grateful to be protected. So we're quite happy to go above and beyond our end to help veterans out. I think the best thing is just to, if you are feeling isolated, is to reach out to somebody who would understand. Your GP, or a GP would probably be the best one, certainly. Someone who wants to listen is the most important thing, I think, and just finding someone who will listen is important. And that's that. I think if everyone had someone that would listen to them, I think it will be a bit much better place. What was the question?
What's better?
I think
penguins. No, that's not the question. We know that.
No.
I think I certainly feel that from my point of view, my lowest time was isolation. That was the most dangerous time for me, without a doubt. I didn't know it, didn't recognize it at the time in any way, shape, or form. And I'm very fortunate in the fact that I moved past that stage with relative ease, but didn't realize I'd done that either. So it all sort of went on without me really engaging and understanding with myself as to what was actually happening. So I'm very, very fortunate that level of ignorance that I showed myself didn't cause me harm physically. Mentally, probably, if I'm honest, I think it probably did cause me a great deal of harm, because I've had to engage with that since, and many years since that. So, and certainly, having those conversations with people and saying things in which I've not really aired before, and my family overhearing, so he's doing something like this and saying something, and my daughter texting me and saying, "I didn't know you were like that," or not saying that's happened, but something along those lines, is difficult. But if someone is struggling and watching tonight and thinking, I'm resonating with a lot of things that have been said here. John's great with being able to be open with him, with how his journey has been. There are people to reach out to. There are specialists out there to start that journey, that conversation, and signpost you into the right need or requirement that you might have. Mike, I sort of left you out for a little bit. I didn't mean to, but let's the isolation and community aspect. Do you want to pick that up in some form?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I have to fight against isolation still now. I've had some pretty low spots. I just to sort of give my slice of the pie. My mother was committed twice. Right, my mother was committed to an insane asylum twice and released twice. In the time in which America was going through reform for mental health, and in my opinion, the reform was terrible and has caused a lot of the violence that we see today, because we don't do a good job with mental health in this country at all, in my personal opinion. And that's not a political statement. That's every party. That's all of them. Okay, I don't care who you are. So growing up my mother and father were divorced when I was 2. Right, so I don't remember ever my mother and father being together. I can't remember that. As a matter of fact, I don't have a lot of memory before like age 6. But I lived in a car with my mother for a while. I don't know how she was making money, but I know she did. Again, I went to a lot of different schools that had a lot to do with my mother's transiency. But when I was 9, I moved in with my father. My stepmother was not the nicest of people. I don't know how I ended up with so many insane people, literally and figuratively. Like I know that's probably not a term I should throw around. I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm telling you, these people were not right. It was rough, y'all. It was rough. And I never have really felt like anybody feels or sees or hears things the way I do. Okay. I've never really felt that way because I came up different. Okay. I didn't know what Sesame Street was. I had to figure that out. Right. My whole life has been a lot like this last year and a half has been, trying to figure out how everybody else does whatever the heck it is they're doing that they look so happy doing. How do I do that? Right. I had to figure all that. Nobody taught me that at home. What I got taught at home was be a man, right? I got the rough side. I have all those principles are well instilled, but the soft side of it, the understanding how to deal with people's feelings and not just, field march over someone to get what it is that you need, right? To have a softer side and understand that not everything has to be brute force to get it done. I learned outside my home, right? So I have to always be watchful that I am not isolating myself, mostly my thoughts. I've put myself physically in a place where I can't do that on purpose, right? My wife thinks I'm this extrovert, and I am, but that's because I make myself be an extrovert. I've learned that that's the best way to figure out how everybody's doing it, right? If I get out there and get it, you can't hide when you're this tall, okay? The only thing I remember post first grade was my kindergarten play. I was Abraham Lincoln, because even then I was the tallest kid. Even then, I'm not joking. My dad's 6'4", my mom was 5'11". All right. My grandfather on my father's side was 6'1". I was 6'7" before I entered high school. Yeah. I was the tallest person in every school from 4th grade on, including every teacher. So you can't hide when you're me. There's no hiding. You can't be the kid in the corner that nobody can see. That's not possible. They're going to point you out. They're already talking about you. So do you want to be part of the conversation, or do you want to just let them make fun of you? Right. So that was just the way I did it. But as soon as I get alone, I wonder, how authentic was I? Like, I mean, you know, I have to worry about like do people understand that I really meant what I said? You know, do I just sound like I'm saying it, or do I, you know, I think about these things constantly, bro, like all the time. So modeling lets me set all that down, right? All that, you know, and that's on top of everyday life. Okay. That's on top of, you know, the grocery list and the, you know, oh God, the rent's due, and, you know, whatever, like that's, you know, that's on top of all that. Right. I'm juggling that one too. Right. So it was crazy. Like, the relationships for me were hard. Right. I've been married for 31 years. Right. 31 years I've been married, and my wife is the most wonderful person I've ever met in my entire life. And mostly because she's put up with me for 31 years. And y'all, it ain't easy. It's not.
I think all the difficulties with, say, military life pale into insignificance when they dress somebody like you up as Abraham Lincoln and put you in a theater.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I didn't get shot, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite funny because I can honestly, I can see Malcolm nodding away, because obviously Malcolm is suffers from that same elevation as you do, and he's always saying that it's very difficult to be in a room where he can see above everybody. I don't understand, because I'm too busy looking at his shoes.
Yeah, well, there's pluses and minuses on all of it. You can see under the couch. I can see the top of the fridge. It's all good.
Definitely.
It's all right. But I'll say this though. Tallness is one of those things that people are allowed to point out, ask questions about, be very almost rude about, and it's okay. Like, you can ask me how tall I am all day long. That's fine. But if you're 5'2" and I ask you how tall you are, I've insulted you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
if you weigh 285 pounds and you're 5'7", and I ask you how much you weigh, I'm a dick. Sorry for the language, but I'm a jerk. Right. So, but you know, but you can ask me how tall I am every day of the week, twice on Sunday. Did you play basketball? I don't know. Do you play soccer? What, you know, what's the short sport?
Yeah. Okay.
Jockey. You're a jockey. That's what it is. That's a short sport. You must be a horse jockey then.
Oh, yeah, it goes well on a dry track. Yeah.
So anyway, you know, just one of those little things.
So, yeah.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
Oh, dang it. Now I missed
it just wasn't funny the second time.
No.
Yeah, that's thrown me completely. Thanks for that, John.
Yeah, all I said was,
yeah,
Mike, I said she goes well on a dry track. So, yeah.
because I'm American, right?
And no. I think our jockeys probably have a different language here. They're all just like, oh yeah, oh no. Anyway.
So anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about, the community, etc. So, you know, obviously one of the things that's drawn us all together is not only the ability to deliver this wonderful hobby to veterans and the special people within the organisation in which you three obviously transmit, etc. But those that are watching, I mean, obviously they can donate stuff, and you know, what's the best way in which they can help anyone that's in the modelling community, Malcolm?
Anyone in the modelling community, or the best way they can help Models for Heroes, Patriot Models, and Piece by Piece. Which one? All three?
All three, or any, or
don't hide away with your stuff. Don't be embarrassed to not photograph what you're working on. Show the world. It's very hard to, because you think, oh, it's not good enough. You know, there's a fingerprint on the back and I put the wing on around, or it's the wrong shade of yellow or something ridiculous. But it doesn't matter, because it's all modeling. We're all making mistakes all the time. We all want to see what you're making, because it's an awesome hobby. I think if people are sharing things and what they're up to and what they're doing and how they're doing it and what their plan is and why they're making it, I think that's really powerful for people to know, you know, and it benefits all of us. You know, I don't know if any of you watch SitRep on a Sunday morning, but reading about why people are making things and what their plans are and what they're going to come up with next, and watching their progression through the months is it's awesome. It's amazing. I look forward to Sunday morning every time, because the SitRep is on. It's not on tomorrow, by the way. I don't know if you find that, John. You see people sharing their stuff, and you see development in their work and their ability to take photographs, and they're kind of learning as they go, you know.
So part of this, there might be some audience who haven't seen me or heard me before, which would be, you know, a vast number of people. But I've not met Mike before. But one of the things, when I got in touch with Models for Heroes a number of years ago, very early on, and straight away, Malcolm invited me into the private sort of chat and all that sort of stuff. And then go forward, within 2 years, the worldwide fundraiser for that, the 48 and 48 that James organises, he asked if I can come on board and just sit at the desk and talk gack for, you know, a couple of hours. And after that, then I was asked by Malcolm and Steph and John to come on board and start doing live streams with Models for Heroes live sessions, which we do 3 days a week. And I've been doing that for about, I think over 4 years now or whatever. And it's a lot of fun. And as Malcolm said, one of the highlights of my week, and I know his week, is doing the SitRep, where the beneficiaries send in photos of what they're working on, tell us a bit of a spiel about it, and, you know, why they've chosen this or whatever, and just to see their work is really where that's where all the joy is. Like, so many times I go, oh, I need to buy some armor kits, and for somebody who doesn't build armor, I do that a lot now.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic to see these people. The fact is, I think what we'll all agree with is you don't have to be good at it. It's not a competition. What we always do is support, offer advice when it's asked for, and all that sort of stuff. And if a Spitfire and you want to paint it pink, by all means, paint it pink. I'll not judge you.
No,
it's a lot of fun, and I'm humbled to be part of it for the last couple of years. They keep on inviting me back, and I can't figure out why. But I'll just I'll keep turning up as long as they'll have me. It's always fun.
Because can't work out.
It's because we've got that rotary door. We've not figured out a way of making it a push only door, and unfortunately, it just keeps coming back naturally. So, I think for me, if I was to answer my own question, it would be community. Be part of the community. Talk about it. Talk about the importance of mindfulness. Talk about the importance of support, of not being that isolated model maker in a room somewhere in the cellar or wherever, or a shed or something like that. That would be the first thing. There's lots of ways that involve money and kits and wheels and all that sort of stuff. But Mike, for yourself, I mean, obviously you're a little bit further along the green shoot journey than John is. What ways in which people come in, and maybe in the States a little bit more locally to you, or even worldwide, doesn't matter. But how can they help Patriot Models?
All right. Well, first I wanted to say, like, I'm the site that we're on. I can see the comments, but I can't respond to them because I haven't signed in or whatever. So just so everybody knows, I see your comments over here. So don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm not. I just don't want to talk over to people to say hello to you and whatnot. But I'll talk with some of y'all later. You know, as far as helping Patriot Models, I think the biggest help to Patriot Models would be if everybody will quit telling me that it's not them that needs help, it's somebody else. I think that would be the number one help to Patriot Models. I can raise money. We raised $15,000 last year for Patriot Models, right? So we can raise money. I'd rather I didn't do all the raising of it, but I was raised to figure out your problems yourself. And then if you need help, you got to ask, but first, do what you can. Right. And that's what I'm doing. Right. So I'm to a point where I've got to about what I can do by myself. I've maxed out my workload to the point where I've really created a lot of synergy behind it. There's a lot of motion going on in my county through it. They've asked me to partner with the JROTC within my high school and within all the high schools within my county as well. So now I've got a massive need for kits, and I've got a stash of about 150, but I think there's close to 400 people in the JROTC countywide. I got to train them all, teach them how to do a kit, and then give them a little interview stuff, and then, hopefully eventually put them with a veteran that's been vetted and all that, so they can talk over modeling. They don't have to be great at modeling or any of that. It's just try to get them together for a conversation. But outside of that, I do, if you guys don't know, or if anybody doesn't know, Malcolm did a study about scale models 3-4 years ago, I guess now. And it was published in the British Journal of Occupational Therapy. And it starkly shows how clinically good this is for people. All right. And so I'm trying to do that here. And part of that process is you survey someone about how they're feeling before you do anything. And then you have a modeling session. And then you wait a couple of weeks. And then you have another modeling session. And then you survey a second time and measure, somebody's well-being in between. Right. That's basically the nuts and bolts of the study. And so I'm trying to do that. Right. I'm trying to do that. And you were asking about like the difference between somebody where they started and for me, that's really what I've got, because that's where I am in this process. And being a noob, I don't really have the couple of years of watching people do this, but I can just tell you, one of the guys I modeled with is a retired lieutenant colonel. And, I was kind of like worried because he was one of my first guys or whatever, right? And I was worried I wasn't doing it right. And I was worried the conversation didn't go well enough. And I was worried the way I was painting this thing really looked like crap. Hopefully he didn't notice and all this stuff. I was so worried. I was worried about this and worried about that. And so, and he's not a real talkative guy. He's not a real outgoing guy. He's a very reserved type person. And so he's not super talkative, and I am, right? And so I don't know. He just didn't talk to me in the 2 weeks in between. He'd wave or whatever, nod, whatever, keep, whatever. I see him at work all the time. And so, I don't know, the 2 weeks came past and, we showed up to our model session, and, so I pull out my model and he pulls out his, and it's nearly done, and it's painted better than mine was. Let me tell you what. He pulls out a rattle can, right? He puts it down next to it. He did this Jaguar, right? This little Airfix Jaguar, the little one's about this big. Yeah. It's like a starter kit. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but I use those starter kits for my modeling sessions, my intro sessions. And so, he was like, so, what do you think I can do to make this thing like shine a little better over here? Like, and I was like, okay, obviously I was worried for no damn reason, right? Because this guy, he's not worried about therapy, right? He's wanting to know about which means the therapy worked, right? It's so hard to get through people's heads that I'm not trying to give anybody therapy. I'm not like trying to make high schoolers give therapy. No, it's about a conversation over a model, y'all. That's what it is. Yeah. So I need people to say, yeah, I could use a conversation over a model. Yeah. In my opinion, if you've been through basic training, you've had trauma. Okay. If you've been through basic training, you've had trauma. If you had a 1995 or before childhood, you've likely had trauma. You've likely had what we would today consider trauma in the schoolhouse, right? Like, we don't paddle people anymore, but that sure did happen in my schools. So I'm just saying there's a certain age break where we started really worrying about how much trauma we offered our children. And that's only happened in the last 15 or 20 years, y'all. It really has. So quit telling me that this other person could use that. We could all use some time to put the juggling instruments down, right? If you got that, then you're doing yoga already, or you already have a therapist or whatever. And I'm just going to pivot real quick on that, and then I'll hush for a minute. Therapist, right? Like, oh, isn't that a dirty word? Psychologist, psychiatrist. Oh my God. What are you, crazy? You need help? Yeah, you are. And you do. And so am I. And so is he. And so is she. And so are all of us. What is neuro undivergent anyway? Define that for me. Tell me what is normal. Give me some sort of description of what's normal. And I'll guarantee you that every person that you can show me, I can show you somehow they're not. Okay. So, quit telling us that it's not you. It is you. It's all of us. We're all misfit toys on a misfit island. Okay. And so just come join us. You belong. And if it's not here that you belong, then find your island. Maybe it's a different misfit island, but there's one for you, and find that. And so talk to someone, best friend, right? Maybe you got a wife you can talk to that you actually doesn't judge you. I got one, but I still feel judged anyway sometimes. So I go to my best friend, and then sometimes he judges me, and I make the rounds, right? Sometimes it's Malcolm. Malcolm knows we've had some long chats. Like I really get kind of down about, wow, I thought people cared about what we're doing, and it just seems like I'm the only one sometimes. Poor me. And that's such a crock. That's such a crock. You know what? I say about 1/100th of what I think it is you understood I just said, right? Like I say all these things, and while I'm saying them, I'm meaning all these other things I don't get an opportunity to say. But I think you got them all. So when you don't respond to it all, I think, wow, you don't care. No, I just don't have the opportunity to bore you for 15 hours straight. If I did, let me tell you what, you'd probably send 20% of your pay to me every time you got paid, because you'd believe the same way I do, because that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I just got to reflect on a question that's popped up in the chat, and something that actually it's helped me greatly. This is Dave Clark in the US has said, is there a discussion about a joint worldwide fundraising activity similar to 48 and 48 that would benefit all three organizations, M4H, Models for Heroes, Piece by Piece, and Patriot Models? So yes, sort of is the answer. So the 48 and 48 is my project. It's something in which I've done for 9 years. It's our 10th anniversary next year. And we've raised money basically by having the community I have on my Facebook group and on the YouTube, pulled this event out of thin air, and it's got bigger and bigger. And we've involved more and more people around the world. And without really making it a mission statement as such, my aim has always been to promote the activity of model making, to promote the well-being aspects of model making, and to promote an organization like Models for Heroes along the way. And a quiet wish in the back of my mind has been the hopes that by creating a global event where many people from different countries are involved within the 48 hours, it makes it a little bit more viewing time. So it's about 66 hours in all over the 48 hours, which if you can work that maths out, you're better than I am. Because we're all in so many different time zones, etc. So my aim has always been to increase the amount of time zones we're in and the amount of people from around the world that are involved, etc., etc. The one thing that's sort of coming to light slowly, which I don't take any credit for, is that maybe Models for Heroes is the idea that we're dropping the seeds and we're getting some fertilization along the way in different countries of a similar organization like Patriot Models and Piece by Piece. So that's always been an unsaid mission statement of the 48 and 48. So to go back to your question, Dave, is yes, it is something in which we're actively engaged with and thinking about. but as yet we're not at the point where we can certainly say we can do this and we can do that for this organization, or etc. So it's something that we aspire to. We did help
Models for Vets.
Thank you. Models for Vets, Scale Models for Vets, a Dutch group. They were involved with the 48 and 48, and of course they did their own versions of the 48 and 48, and we tried our best to support them, etc. And I will continue to do the same vision and approach to both John and Mike, and any other organisation that comes along from other countries. The hope is, realistically, for me, by providing a platform and a conversation within our community of model making, it gives us the ability to do anything if we set our minds to it. And all it really needs is people that are engaged enough and willing enough to move forward with that seed, that idea. So if we get to a point in the future, hopefully soon, where we can be fundraising for different organizations, be it in one pot and divide, or be it different events throughout the year, then yeah, of course we would. Absolutely. I personally would be behind it. I know Malcolm has always been there supporting people in the background, as Mike and John has alluded to. And I've already stated very clearly to both John and Mike that if I can help and assist in any way, shape or form to make sure that they grow and become a mirror image of the success that Models for Heroes has been over the last 10 years, 9 to 10 years. And if I can be just a very, very, very small part of that cog and that machinery, then that would make me immensely proud. So so I hope that answers the question for you. Yes, we are talking about it. I know that Mike has had conversations with some of the podcast groups in the States about how they may be able to help, and you've done some fundraising as well, Mike, haven't you, with one of the podcasts? I can't think which one it was now.
Plastic Posse podcast, Triple P
Posse.
Yeah, sorry. It's obviously the new one. And I did notice that Scott is actually in the chat there as well, wishing all three of the organisations.
Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Strangely, he's just collective success in the individual collaborative missions and all that sort of stuff. So, I hope that answers the question. And I think as a community, so I think I can speak for my community, for the 48 and 48, which covers many other communities, I have to say. I think as that collective, I think we would be immensely happy to do stuff. I think potentially more events through the year would be cool, because that would create more platforms to have the conversation with. And I think that's the important part. You know, Malcolm every year will back me up on this. Every year I bore Malcolm to death saying, I don't know if I can raise enough. And Malcolm says, you, all I'm really interested in is the conversation, James. You know, the money's okay, but it's not the important thing.
Yeah, it's the chat. It's the people, it's the talking. And if I can just add to what you just said, James, if you are interested in helping out James in the 48 and 48 in a country that you would like to help your organization, then get in touch with James, because I'm sure James would love the extra help and assistance, and be able to climb down from his tower. That'd be great. So make yourself known if you want to help out organize these things. They take a lot of work, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I'm very lucky. I mean, we had I think I'm right in saying we had about 24 people this year help put that event together, in different levels and in different amounts, but certainly on the day itself, we had that number of people getting involved and helping, and even today I have been talking to Scott and Scott and somebody, can't remember who it was now, but a couple of people, Scott and Steph and someone else, still dealing with the last bits and pieces to do with the auction lots and all that sort of stuff. You know, and it's the first year. I mean, we did an awful lot of auctions this year. A lot of items were auctioned, and we suffered for it because it's taken us near on a month, in fact, over a month, to get it all out the door and to people. So, you know, thank you for everybody's patience, etc. But yeah, it's very all-consuming for me, the event, and even to the point that I don't mind telling you that not only have I spent the last 3 weeks asking people to do things to do with sending stuff out, but I've also been in communication with other people for next year about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, etc. And even to the point where I was in a meeting at work on Friday, and I told my boss that I couldn't do that. I was too busy doing some charity stuff that was much more important than actually my physical work, which they were very happy to support me in that. But yeah, so I think I answered the question.
Yes, I think you did. I think Patriot Models is 2 now. Amount of time it took you to answer that question.
Yeah. So, you know, we need people to say that they need help. That's the first thing. And then, you know, obviously we could use funding. We're a year in, and honestly, to get funding, you know, I've got some local charities here that are going to help us, right? They're going to help us. It looks like I'm in that pipeline, and that'll be good. But those pipelines sometimes can be hamstrung by what you can do with them. So I'm always trying to, you know, do this from the ground level up. I'm not trying to have some foundation tell us how we should help people and who should we help and all that. Like, if you're a veteran, you're getting help as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't, you know, I had somebody last week, oh, well, you know, my dad didn't get an honorable discharge. I said, but I didn't ask you what kind of there's no discharge requirement for what I do. Correct. I don't, this is about saving people. This is about making sure that people wake up tomorrow, man. I could care less. That's the guy I want. That's the very dude that's having trouble, right? Like, the worse it went, the better this is for you. So, you know, I mean, I'm at patriotmodels.org. Okay. www.patriot, which is Pat Riot, PATRIOT, patriotmodels.org. Okay. That's my site. You can check us out. We got a pretty nice website, actually, so check it out. But there's a place to donate if you'd like to do that. There's a place to volunteer if you'd like to do that. There's a place to get help. Please do that. Even if you don't think you need the help, you know what I need? I need more than 100 veterans to do this with me so I can publish this study and take it to the Veterans Administration and have every veteran be able to do this as a right. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. And I have those people to do it. I can't. So this is what I figured out. You know what gets veterans out to actually get their therapy? Helping other people.
Oh,
a sense of duty. So quit not serving, right? You're still serving. You volunteered to serve. You're still serving. You need to help other people by doing this study with me. Okay. I'll do it online with you. I can do it online with you too. You don't have to do it in person. We can do it online.
They have to be Americans. Like,
no, I mean, you know, I prefer Americans, but at this point, I'll take anybody, even British foot. No, I'm kidding. Anybody, of course. But I only ship in America. Okay, only ship in America. Sorry, right, James? That was a pretty funny, was it? I was all part of that that 48 and 48, and my big mouth got me about $700 worth of stuff, right? So you know that shipping's tough across the seas, y'all. Sorry. But if you want to get your own model and do it with me, I can use that, right? Like that will go in my study, right? If you're a veteran, it goes in my study. Like it doesn't say United States veteran in it. It says it says military veteran.
Veteran.
All right. So
Yeah.
I can use non-Americans. It's fine. I hadn't really thought of that, so that kind of threw me for a loop there. But yeah, I mean, unlike Malcolm, I'll help people outside my country. It's fine.
Are there details on your website about it?
Yes, there are. There are definitely details on the website. There's an info email there that if you hit that, either me or one of my folks is going to answer you pretty quickly too. We're usually like 2 business days tops. We're on it usually. So
wow, that'll change.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, good luck with that.
I hope to be able to get to it really quick because I think that's super important. But I hear what you're saying. I know that it, look, I'm a full-time teacher, right? So I got a full-time job on top of this, right? So it's not like this is easy, but at the same time, nothing good is easy, y'all. Nothing worthwhile is easy. That's okay. I don't mind when it's not easy. I just want people to talk to folks and not keep it inside. That's really all I want. And a little bit of money to broadcast that and buy plenty of kits so we can help people. That's all I want.
Yep.
So there's a question here for you, John. If I can just bring up on the screen, it should come up. There you go. So he knows that. No, it's not that one. It's fairly early days for Piece by Piece. However, is it able to expand beyond your immediate location? He's in that place there and is very interested to help out.
All right, so Illawarra is south of Sydney. So if you think, well, where we are, New South Wales, sort of like, the mid-ish east coast of Australia. You've got Newcastle on top, Sydney in the middle, and Wollongong underneath that. So in order, it's NSW, New South Wales. That's how you remember where's what. Anyway, getting back to Andrew's question. Yes, so I'm partnering with, well, not partnering with, but basically I've got onto a recently opened veterans hub in Maitland, which is about 30 k's that way. Price of petrol these days, all that sort of stuff aside. But right, so they're sponsored by RSL. It's Return Servicemen's League. It's the Australian version of, I can never remember what the organisation is in the UK. Is it
British Legion?
Legion. There we go. There's that. So I'm sort of jumping on board with them, and they're keen for that to happen. I'm aware that a guy called Steve has partnered with the RSL in Melton, which is northwest of Melbourne on the way to Ballarat. And he runs sessions for veterans down there. So what I'd recommend, Andrew, is RSL. I reckon if a lot of people in different areas get onto the RSL, we can, I wouldn't say force their hand, but we can guide their hand towards setting up and supporting these sort of things. It doesn't cost much money if individual sort of hubs do that, and with the money that they raise. And I reckon I can't do this alone because Australia is huge. It's pretty much the size of the US, as I think everybody knows, as UK is a lot smaller. But there are differences. So one thing I'm very much aware of is, although the UK, it's easier to coordinate and everything else, I'm also aware that I believe, and I have no proof, but I think the British ex-servicemen don't get anywhere near as a decent a pension as Australians do. And a lot of this comes from, say, the Vietnam War that Australia was heavily involved in, of course, in the 70s. That there's a song, I Was Only 19, and in that the lyrics are, Frankie kicked a mine the day that mankind kicked the moon. I saw an interview with that guy. It was Darren Hinch on his show, Australian sort of reference here, but and that guy, Frankie, had lost his foot below the ankle because he stood on a landmine in Vietnam War. And on this show in the mid-80s, he was saying that he's still fighting the Australian government for recognition that the reason why he doesn't have a foot anymore is the war that they sent him on. And they there's a big struggle to get recognised. And I think that's one of the reasons after, say, First, Second World War, that a lot of people you take the piss, winos, people sitting under bridges with bottles of alcohol and stuff like that. There was no support network in those days. And I think a lot of the people would discard now at least talked about and coming together. And I think we're doing a better job of looking after people. I think the Australian government is very, very good at doing what they can. But what it comes down to is instead of services offering, say, you got Soldier on, you got all these different aspects, and in some ways they're fighting against each other. My view with this is this actually works. Like, I know different organizations run sessions with support professionals where people can go and sit down in a room and talk through problems and everything else. But what we're talking about here is actual physical therapy, and the cost of these kits and everything else is not that much, and I think it's totally effective. So again, the long answer, but Andrew, I reckon if we people all over Australia get in touch with their local RSL sub-branch and ask them if they can just do one-on-one sessions and all that sort of stuff, face-to-face sessions, that if the more and more of them pop up around Australia, then that could be the way that we can get the message out and the help out there.
So I think the answer to the question was yes, and without meaning to throw John under the bus, I think John's a great spokesman for it. So if you can find someone locally to you, an organisation that might be able to help, and you need some advice and help, John might be the person to go to, and I'm sure John would be more than willing to speak to those people as well if necessary, to highlight the benefits.
Also, with that, I've lost my train of thought. No, forget it. Gone.
We'll come back to that in a second, because I wanted to just highlight this up for Mike as well. So we've got a question there from Paul, who says, I know a US veteran in the States and he's scale model making, but he's really struggling. Could I recommend him to Patriot Models?
Yes, please. Definitely. 100. No matter where he's at, we'll help him.
There you go. And I think that's it.
So I mentioned networking and coordinating is really at the stage where we, certainly in Australia, we need this, would like this to happen. So if anyone has any questions, or if people, wherever you are in Australia, if you want to get in touch, email me at scalemodelingtwins at gmail.com. Modeling with a double L, not the American way of spelling, of course. But yeah, I'm certainly always up for a chat. We can coordinate the hell out of this one and get a lot of movement. I think, this could be what we need is a kickstart. If people can look at their own areas, the best advice Malcolm gave to me on this one is, like, don't think of a national thing, just do your own local thing, build it, and they will come. So that's the stage where I am now. And I think that's the best way forward.
And I think reflecting back to Dave's question about how we progress in highlighting the causes, etc., of the three organisations that happen to be sat here today in this conversation, that is one of the best bits of thingy which we can do. So if you're watching and this resonates with you, and you want to be a part of it, to be helpful or support it in some way, contact your local group. For the UK would be Models for Heroes, Patriot Models for the US, and John Piece by Piece in Australia. If you live in those countries and you want to help, reach out to them, and they will all answer your queries and find a way in which you can help and assist, because networking is going to be certainly the biggest thing. I know Malcolm spent many years networking and still does, and he does love to sit and talk about this very passionately with people, and I know these two other guys, John and Mike, are the same as myself as well. It's just a subject in which we could talk to forever, and bearing in mind we were only going to be on for an hour, we've been on for 1 hour and 43 minutes, so let's wrap things up with thank you, Malcolm. I just seen it. So Malcolm, if I throw this to you, so looking forward, you've already alluded to it slightly, as the difference for this year compared to last. What do you see your organisation doing over the next 12 months to 2 years? What do you think's what's around the corner for you?
Employees, which is a massive leap. At the moment, we're at capacity. I can't. There is not enough hours in the day for me to answer the amount of work that I have to do. There's not enough time. There's not enough volunteers. There's literally nothing that is left in the bank, as it were. But if there was an employee who had a responsibility to do something, then they would get on and do it. The trouble is that once you get an employee, you need an employee to look after that employee. To do payment correctly, and it's more expensive to have an employee than it is to have a volunteer. So we need to get through over that kind of hurdle, if you like. And even then, you've got responsibilities way beyond what we have now with employees. But that's one thing that we're going to have if we are going to expand and grow. The other one would be some sort of huge amount of funding from some massive organization that decides that we are worthy of helping out. Because at the moment we haven't had any help from any of the people that send us beneficiaries, which is annoying because one, they won't send us money because we're not registered charity. We're a CIC, but they're quite happy to send us beneficiaries.
What is a CIC?
Community interest company.
Okay. Right.
So it's we don't have any shareholders. We all the profits that we make go back into the community project, if you like. Yeah. It's governed like a company. It's run by Companies House in the UK, so they do all the oversight for all our aims and everything else. But they're quite happy to send us beneficiaries. So one of the things is trying to get over that kind of lump of where we are at the moment. I don't know how to do it really, apart from employees. But I think, National Lottery. Yes, they gave us £34,000 about 4 years ago to train mental health first aid for our volunteers, which we are just about at the end of. We've got 2 sessions coming up for mental health first aid for volunteers, which is online. So yes, we'll be asking them again. That's where I see ourselves in the future is employees. It'd be nice if I could take a wage home, after 10 years. It'd be nice to, bring some money back, or even have the time to go and get a job. That'd be nice. Pass that baton on to someone else as stupid as I am would be good. But also, I think more clinical study as well into it would be good. I know we talked about Mike's doing it, or we've done one before with Kerry Lawrence and in her work, and it would be good to have some more study because no one listens to studies more than the armed forces, right? If there's a study and you can prove it, then they'll understand and they'll help. They don't go by word of mouth, So that's where I'd like to be further on, and then helping these other organisations that are popping up. I'm sure more and more people see these 2 guys taking on the work that needs to be done. I'm sure that other countries will be getting involved. There's already a group in Canada at the moment. They're doing very well. I'm sure there are other ones that we don't even know of. But more every country. There we go. I did say every county when I started this. Have a session in every county. We haven't quite got Mid Wales, but every country would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's my answer to the question.
Okay, Mike, where do you see yourself Patriot Models in this year, basically?
Well, again, like I was saying, we put together a lot of kind of coalitions at the moment, and so it's kind of that's a great question. I'm not sure I'm going to know where I'll be in a year. I certainly didn't know a year ago I'd be here. I'm doing shows, right? So I'm doing shows as a vendor, like local shows here. I'm in Palmetto, Florida, by the way. I don't know that I even said that. I talked about being from Atlanta, but I'm in Palmetto, Florida, which is really close to Tampa, just south of Tampa, Florida. So that's on if you're looking at the globe, that's on the left side of Florida, like below the Panhandle. So about halfway down. And so it's a beautiful place. And I'm loving it here. But we're at this spot where I've created all these coalitions, and now it's like, all right, now what do we do? Like, where am I going to get all my veterans from, and where am I going to get all my kids? It's like both ends of it. Like, I got everybody ready to help folks, but I don't have enough people coming out of the woodwork to get helped. And then when they do, will I have models to do it with? So it's like chicken and egg. Like, I'm at this like hard spot where I just I can, I've got this Google grant that I can pull the trigger on having people nationally or even internationally contact us, right? I've got some money to put that out there on the internet, but without the ability to have something to ship to them and the people to actually do all that modeling with them, because I'm only one person. Obviously I can model with a couple of people a day maybe, but I do have a job. So it's one of those things where it's unfamiliar territory, right? I really don't know the answer to that question. I mean, like Malcolm said, would it be great if somebody just came along and said, hey buddy, you're doing a great thing. I'm just going to fund you in perpetuity. So you don't have to worry about that now. And if you want to teach, great. But if you don't, that's fine too. You just do your thing and I got your back. Whatever you need, I'm going to be there for you. Man, bro, we'll save the world. I'm ready. But that's first off, people got to understand they can trust you, right? Like being in this business for a couple of years shows you're not just going to dry up and blow away, right? Because let me tell you, it ain't easy doing this by yourself. It can be tough, but it's extremely rewarding, rewarding. So I'm not whining, right? I'm not crying about it. I'm just saying but it is though. So a lot of people quit, right? People have great intentions and they just can't get it done. I mean, frankly, I have to go to bat for veterans with my wife, not because she doesn't care about veterans, but because she's my wife. And I'm insanely wrapped up in this stuff, right? So she has to remind me, hey, you're a husband too. Don't forget, hey, I'm over here. Yeah. So one day could I have somebody do some of these things? That would be great. But will that happen this year? Probably not for me, because I know I got to do 2 years before anybody's really going to throw any cash down on this. And that would be like if I have everything set up perfect for the moment I hit 2 years, like what, that's not real likely. So, I'm just trying to have some patience. That's my biggest watchword at this point, is just having some patience to let it all simmer and cook and do what it wants to do. Because again, I'm this guy that jumps in, I figure out what needs to do. We need to do this. We need to make that happen. We got to whatever, right? And I can do that very quickly. I can assimilate these things and see where they fit together and you need to be with this person and you should be over there. And but not everybody sees it as quick as I do. And so I'm not in charge of everybody, right? I don't get to say you're going to do that. And if y'all would just do it, we'd be fine. But understand, you got to trust me. You got to understand who I am. You got to make sure I'm not going to blow up and drop and blow away. You got to make sure I'm not a pretender. And I'm fine with all that. I'm here for it. No problem.
John, that's a real difficult question for you, I know. But what are your hopes, aspirations, shall we say, for this year for the piece by piece?
Getting. The easy thing to say, but the harder thing to actually start is actually running a face-by-face session. Now, as I mentioned, I'm in discussions with it's Life Care, RSL Life Care, and the Veterans Hub in Maitland has only been open about 3 weeks now, I think. And I've had a number of conversations with them there, and verbally every time it's, yep, absolutely, yep, this is something we could do. But I'm still waiting for them to just sort of get back to me.
Can we do that? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and just like actually
Yeah.
running a session. So this is the thing. Like, and obviously, I think Malcolm would understand, and I think certainly Mike would. That it's very difficult to feel like you want to ask people for something if you have nothing to show them that it's actually like happening and beneficial, and it's a real thing. And I think Malcolm would certainly agree that he's known around the world now, as well as James, with the charity Models for Heroes. So you can talk to people, and a lot of not everyone knows who these guys are, but they are very well known and respected in the community for what they do. And I'd say that Malcolm is not in this for himself. The reason why his face and his name are out there and his height is as a byproduct of the work that he's doing. That if he needs to promote it, then he'll stand in front of a camera and do what's required. It's not about the likes, the clickbait, and all that sort of stuff. It's certainly literally helping people out at the coalface, and that's what I want to do. Is actually
it's because you know it works.
Done. I'm sorry.
It's because you know if you know it works, then that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
So no, getting started, and I have great hopes for it. Now it's not just obviously what I can do is I'm keen to not just do Maitland. I could do my local area, so about the same distance the other way is Newcastle, which is a regional city that being able to run a couple of sessions a couple of days a week or a month or whatever is I'm up for any of it as long as I can get out there and just get this started. Yeah, so start small because I've got nothing to show for it at the moment apart from some donations that are piled up over there from the recent fundraiser for Models for Heroes.
I think that's the right aspiration as well. Like Malcolm has said on numerous occasions, if you start small and just start, they'll come. And it will grow at the speed in which it's meant to grow. There's no point worrying about it, and it will. I think I can say this from watching as a volunteer, Malcolm and Models for Heroes. Malcolm, I think he's always quite surprised every year about just how the Models for Heroes has evolved and how many people it helps, and just how many people know what Models for Heroes is and all that sort of stuff. So it's really just having that conversation, starting that conversation, and starting to find the beneficiaries that then become the ambassadors that then move you forward and so on. It's forever. I can't think of. I'm waffling because I'm trying to think of the right words, but I can't think of the right words. It's
baby steps,
self-propagating. Yeah, it's self-propagating, isn't it? It grows within itself and on itself. So
yeah.
Anyway. Guys, we've come for 2 hours. I can't believe we've been talking for 2 hours. We've had a good number of people watching, some great comments. I've not read them all out. If you're watching this Technicolor on your podcast, then you won't see them on the screen, but they have been up on the screen on YouTube. Thank you so much for your time. I think it's been a really interesting conversation. Obviously, it's been great to talk about what all three of your organizations are doing or are going to do and aspire to do. And I take my hat off to all three of you for the hard work in which you have put in and are going to put in, because I know you just won't stop. You'll keep motoring. A very short last comment from you, John.
Yeah. Keep modeling and keep looking out for your mates.
How about yourself, Mike?
Just find something you love and make a model of it, guys, and then show somebody and talk to somebody about it. We're geeks, right? We're model geeks, we're model nerds, we're model whatever the word is you want to use, right? But there's a bunch more of us out there. They don't even know that you are one, right? They're waiting for you to tell them that you are one, so they can go, oh, I used to do that. That's so cool. Blah blah. I got 3 different high schoolers involved in modeling in the past month, just kind of talking about, where were you? You weren't at school yesterday. Yeah, well, I had to go to the board meeting. Blah blah blah. So I'm going to have to start a club. Because of the people that are talking about it now. So, because I've got plenty of time to do that too. But I mean, it's one of those things where, look, if somebody wants to learn how to do models and I'm nearby, then we'll just learn how to do models, right? I mean, everybody wants to thank me for what I'm doing and tell me what a great person I am. And I appreciate that. I do, because it is hard work sometimes. But let me tell you what, the hardest work I've done is put a model together. Oh, poor me. I had to put together another model. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on, man. It's easy work, y'all. Just get out and talk to one another and be semi-social. Yeah. Right. I'd also tell you, if you're gonna give money to it, whether it be me or Malcolm or John or anybody else, whatever, okay, anything that you believe in, right? Whatever it is that you believe in, I believe that you should do $5 a month. Or $20 a month, right? Or whatever, whatever it is. Like, how much do you spend on coffee a month? How much do you spend on tea? How much do you spend on, drop something that you don't spend much on, right? And think about like what you could do with that money. You could, every one of these kits we send to somebody, because after you're done with my 2 model things and I've surveyed you before and after, if afterwards you say, yeah, that was really cool, I'm going to send straight to your door a model kit, a care package, right? A little care package. 3 or 4 models in it, a whole bunch of stuff in there to get you a really good start on modeling, right? Those run about $400 to $500 a piece, right? So, you can help sponsor one of those, right? You can help some guy get one of those who is in a really bad spot that doesn't know anything about modeling, right? That's what you can do. Or you can pick something else. But look, you should do it perpetually, right? You should just say, you know what? I want to just give $1 a month. Right? Or I want to give $5 a month or whatever. And you got that $1,000 a month. It's www.patriotmodels.org.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Malcolm?
Final words. Models for Heroes was called Models for Heroes because I think that you guys are heroes. And I am giving my models to my heroes, the people who are protecting my family and putting themselves on the line. So that's why it's called Models for Heroes, because your heroes are in my eyes. I understand why that doesn't really for the guys it's like, oh, I'm not a hero, blah blah blah. Well, I don't give a shit because you are for me. So that's the name, and that's staying. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for your time. If you're going to be around for a while and you're stopping and listening and joining in, then that's half the battle, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So the final thought from myself is to sort of relate back to something that Mike just said. Actually, something we did in the 48, and that was to say, why don't you donate a latte? So the price of your latte that you buy every day, 3-4 times a day, when you're going backwards and forwards due to your job, etc., do you really need 3 or 4 of those? Maybe you could donate a latte a day to one of these fine charitable organizations that will help a hero, somebody that puts himself on the line for your safety. Give that some thought. Maybe that's something in which you really should do. But from me, Malcolm, Mike, and John, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right.